This one's going to be interesting. Christopher, I recently had this reflection by looking at my dog. His genitals were on display for all the world to see, and I began musing on this, that human beings are the only animals in this world that wear clothing. I know this is biblically significant, but I can't put my finger on it. Can you help me? Why are human beings the only animals that wear clothing? First of all, I just want to comment on how much I love this guy's question, and I love his honesty, and I love how just looking at creation, looking at his dog's genitals, and the fact that they're just out there for all to see, led him to this deeper reflection. Beautiful, wonderful. It's an example to us all. Get curious, go look at the world and start asking questions. It'll take you places. Yeah, I can speak to this, and it's one of my favorite points that John Paul II makes in the Theology of the Body. He says that the line in the book of Genesis, this is before sin comes into the world, the man and his wife were both naked and felt no shame. John Paul II says this is a very evocative statement, and we can be tempted to think it's just kind of thrown in there as a cursory detail. He said, no. This statement, they were both naked and felt no shame, is the key, he says, the key to the original sketch of biblical anthropology. Now, what does that mean? Biblical anthropology, a biblical view of what it means to be a human being. The key to it is that we understand why they were naked without shame. John Paul II tells us, I'm paraphrasing from a lengthy reflection here, but John Paul II basically tells us that they were naked without shame because they experienced erotic desire as God created it to be. And God created erotic desire to be the power to love divinely, the power to love as God loves, right? Christ comes into the world as the bodily manifestation of divine love. And he says to us, love one another as I have loved you. How did he love us? This is my body given for you. That's the true sentiment of Adam's eros, right? Christ is the new Adam, right? This is my body given for you. The first Adam was naked without shame because the way he experienced erotic desire for Eve, for his wife, was, this is my body given up for you. How did Eve experience it? The first woman experienced erotic desire as an open trust in the love of her bridegroom. Let it be done to me according to your love, to your word, right? And notice that gets fulfilled in the new Eve, in the New Testament. Let it be done to me according to your love and your word, right? That is authentic eros. There's no shame in loving as God loves. They see each other's body as this call to love divinely. One of the great gifts of John Paul II's Theology of the Body is that we connect the dots between the new commandment, love one another as I have loved you, and our bodies, right? The call to love as God loves is chiseled by God right in the sexual difference. A man's body makes no sense by itself. A woman's body makes no sense by itself. Seen in light of each other, unless we're blind, we see the call to love divinely through the gift of self in a holy, life-giving communion. It brought with it, as John Paul II says, the beatifying experience of happiness, right? Happiness, he says, is being rooted in love. A beatifying experience. It means full and blissful, right? But we know this bliss did not last very long. God had said, if you choose to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, here's what will happen. You will die. Now, they didn't keel over dead on the spot. Rather, they expired within. Expire. They had been inspired by the divine love, right? They had been inspired by that breath of God, the love of God, the life-giving love of God. Their bodies were inspired. When they ate from that tree, they expired. They breathed that life and love out of them. And you cannot give what you do not have. When the love of God has been breathed out of you, You no longer have it to give. It's in this moment that eros is cut off from agape. And by that I mean erotic love is cut off from divine love. It's no longer love at all because eros is now vacated of divine love. Eros has now, in our fallen experience, become something inverted, right? Adam is no longer saying, this is my body given up for you. Eros, cut off from agape in him, is now saying, hey, that's your body and I'm taking it for me. I want to consume you. I want to use you. I want to get out of you something for my own benefit. Eve, on the other hand, is saying, what happened here? I'm a person. I'm not a thing. I'm never meant to be looked upon as an object for your selfish pleasure. So she covers her body, not because her body's bad. That's a lie. We don't cover our bodies because they're bad. We cover our bodies in this fallen world because they're so good. And we feel, or should feel, an instinctive need to protect the goodness of our bodies from the degradation of lust. What is lust? Just as we've been saying, lust is eros cut off from agape. Critical that we understand. We cover our bodies because they're so good, right? It's not the body that is shameful, John Paul II says. It's our lustful desire. It's our inclination to treat the other person as a thing that is shameful. And here, we have to be very careful with our language. Sometimes that negative evaluation of the body creeps into the way we talk. For example, maybe you're knocking on someone's bedroom door and you might be concerned that he or she is in a state of undress. And you'll say, are you decent? What is the only proper Christian biblical response to that question, even if you're butt naked? The only proper biblical response to that question is, absolutely, I'm decent. God looked at everything he made and said, behold, it is very good, right? The point here is that the body is not indecent. What might be indecent is the way someone is looking at your body. So the next time you're in a state of undress and somebody knocks on the door, do not say, hold on, let me get a bathrobe, I'm indecent. Rather, say, hold on, let me get a bathrobe, because the way you might look at my very decent nakedness might be indecent. That is not just a matter of mental gymnastics. That is the difference between an authentic, biblical, sacramental understanding of the universe and a heretical, not only unchristian, but anti-Christian understanding of the universe. Any attack against the dignity and goodness and sacredness of the human body is not only unchristian, it's anti-Christian. There is no such thing as a dirty body part unless you've been rolling in the mud. That said, we all have these lustful desires, and a shameless approach to nakedness helps no one. What's the difference between nakedness without shame and shameless nudity? Nakedness without shame is an experience of integrated sexual desire and attraction where I can be naked and not be treated as an object for use. That's nakedness without shame, right? But shameless nudity is where I expose my nakedness knowing I'm going to be treated as an object for somebody else's selfish pleasure, and I just subject myself to it. That's pornography. Pornography is shameless nudity, right? John Paul II says, true love swallows shame. And how do we get into all these rich reflections? By a guy who had the nerve to reflect on, why are my dog's genitals just dangling out there for all the world to see, and the dog doesn't think anything of it, but I do, right? What's the difference between us and the animals, right? And we are animals, but we're not merely animals. We are persons. And the difference between a person and an animal is that we are called to love in the image and likeness of God. Right? The copulation of two dogs and the joining of the two in one flesh between a husband and a wife, they may look similar at a merely biological level, but at their root, they are worlds apart because one is governed by instinct, which means it can't go wrong. There's no shame in animals because there's no possibility of love and there's no possibility of getting love wrong, right? But human beings have free will. Human beings have the capacity to love. And with our free will, we can get it wrong. And when we get it wrong, that's the root of our shame. So shame becomes an instructor. Shame instructs us. It teaches us something is off, something is wrong, something has been distorted from the original picture. And the good news is Christ came to restore creation to the purity of its origins. If you want to go on that journey, then click the link in the description below, TOB for free, and we'll send you 3 free videos to our introductory course on the theology of the body. It'll take you on a journey. It'll take you to a place of real hope of being restored in your integral humanity. I hope this has been helpful for you. If you have something you want me to address on this channel, you can leave that in the comments.